Everyone, real quick, I did have problems looking for scans for this, so just like the Highlander review, I'm just gonna have to improv a little bit. Still, hope you enjoy.
Oh. What? No. Because my day off. Fine.
Same as it ever was. Anyway, everyone, how's it going? Wrapping up Page to Screen Month, we're going to be talking about the works of Kevin Smith, more specifically, the View Askewniverse. Starting out with his 1994 film Clerks, the View Askewniverse is a series of movies mostly grounded in reality. I said mostly, following the lives of people trying to make their way in life. Like the two clerks dealing with the thankless limbo that is customer service at a convenience store and fast food. Two college students trying to prove to the women they love that they care.
Don't forget about the goddamn sailboat!
A comic creator trying to be more open with his sexuality and hang-ups, and the descendant of Jesus Christ's siblings trying to stop the apocalypse with two stoners who are in another film getting tricked into stealing an ape. Again, mostly grounded. And yeah, there was also an animated series and film, but those are non-canon, sorta. I'll discuss more in a bit. Point is, the series was very beloved, and to this day, still quoted by many fans, myself included.
37! My girlfriend just sucked 37 dicks!
In a row?
Hey Biz, which one do you like better? Empire or Return of the Jedi?
Empire.
Blasphemy. So Biz, I'm reading Absolute Power and I have a question. I know that Soups has kids, so what about the kryptonite condom? Will that work?
So imagine their surprise in 2022 to tie into the third Clerks film. Definitely recommend checking it out. It got really emotional with the ending. Kevin Smith, with the help of Dark Horse, would bring us Quick Stop, 4-issue anthology that follows the misadventures of some of the most beloved characters from the series, and Elias. How does it turn out? Well, let's dive into Quick Stop and find out. Warning spoilers. Our first story tells the origin of Bluntman and Chronic, an in-universe weed-themed superhero duo that was first introduced in the film Chasing Amy, and even got their own animated film a few years back, but let's not get into that. It was created by the main character of the film, Holden McNeil, who based them off of the stoner duo Jay and his hetero life mate, Silent Bob. Holden is attending Chronicon, a convention first introduced in the film Jay and Silent Bob reboot that celebrates his characters. During a Q&A with the podcast crew, he's asked how he came up with the comic. Turned out he used to work at the Quick Stop, the convenience store the comic gets its name from. He was just there for the summer before college and actually loved working at the place, mostly because it gave him some time to draw. But then he would see the pair that would change everything. Jay's nuts. I'm sorry, I couldn't resist. Too easy. Indecent exposure aside, Jay and Silent Bob do seem to get along with Holden and even offer him a joint. And with that first puff, Holden sees Jay and Silent Bob become Bluntman and Chronic, leading to one insane high. With issue 2, we see the crossover many fans wanted to see: Randall Graves, the smack-talking video store clerk from the Clerks films, and Brody Bruce, the comic book-loving smartass with a heart of gold and pretzels of chocolate, Mallrats, along with the Jay and Silent Bob films. They're attending the funeral of Walter Graves, who was mentioned several times in both Clerks and Mallrats. And if you've seen the films, you know what Walter was known for is not exactly safe for work. So I'll let the image speak for itself. Yeah, Blitz would love him. The two actually end up reminiscing about their times with Walter, in particular the time the two tried to become superheroes after seeing the 1989 Batman film. Though not really, they just drove around and tried to act cool. But that changed when someone tagged Randall's car with a giant tallywhacker, and the two meet Cousin Walter, or as he's calling himself, Count Cocula. Even if you didn't see the movies, you can probably guess what he's into. The next issue moves to the early 2000s, where we meet Elias, who was first introduced in Clerks 2, who was a young, sheltered teen who was very Christian, very into Lord of the Rings and Transformers, and very gullible. He worked at a summer Bible camp trying to explain to the kids how the Transformers are a gift from God, risking dying when you need them. However, the kids, along with most of the camp counselors, are immediately questioning his sanity, with one exception, being his girlfriend, Myra, which I was shocked. I was with Randall in Clerks 2, and thought he made her up, or at least manipulated him. But surprisingly, she's both real and seems to generally like him. The next day, she asks him to take another camper under his wing, a kid by the name of Coltrane Hodkiss, who immediately introduces him to the world of cryptocurrency. Yeah, unfortunately, that does come into play in Clerks 3, but don't hold against the film, it's still damn good. And finally, we got issue 4, where we go back to 1992 and focus on the character that started all, Dante Hicks, who along with his girlfriend at the time, Veronica, will be attending his family reunion. Randall tags along because, of course, and that's when we meet Dante's cousins. First, there's Gil, who likes to flaunt over the fact that he is attending a fancy art school and immediately starts flirting with Veronica. Next, we have Jim, who loves to talk about working for MTV as producer and who Randall immediately hates, and the feeling is mutual. And finally, Grant Hicks, a reporter for the local news. And fun fact, all 3 of them were in the films. Gil was in Mallrats as a contestant for a dating game and got destroyed by Brody. Jim was in Chasing Amy trying to talk Holden into a Blunt Man and Chronic movie, and Grant was in Dogma where he was killed by fallen angels, but possibly brought back from the dead. It was kind of nuts. And as you can see, each one was played by Dante's actor, Brian O'Harlan. So essentially, we're seeing Dante talking to himself. Well, versions of himself that make him feel small, as all 3 already got big careers, but unlike his cousins, he does have friends by his side. Meanwhile, Jay and Tom Bob run the quick stop while they're at the reunion. How's that? Well, I'll let you read to find out. This was a fun anthology, but might not be the best way to bring people into Kevin Smith's View Askew universe. For that, I recommend watching Clerks, Mallrats, or Dogma. Hell, Dogma you can watch for free on YouTube because Weinstein's a piece of shit who tried to screw over Kevin Smith, but that's a whole other story. But it's great if you're familiar with the films and the characters and want to see more stories that fill in the gaps in between the films. For the characters, we'll go in order and talk about Holden, the older and more mature artist describing what it was like to be young and naive, who found inspiration in an unlikely way. Well, okay, not too unlikely. I mean, Douglas Adams came up with Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy after getting drunk in Austria, but still, do not try doing the same. Point is, it's nicely handled and actually kind of a fun way to see how he's matured if you've seen Chasing Amy. Next, we got Jay and Silent Bob, and they're exactly as they are always, a batshit crazy duo who's a great combination of stupid, lucky, and all-around fun, with Jay acting like a maniac while Bob is dealing with his madness or enforcing it, all while insulting anyone and everything. Randall and Brody are cut from the same cloth. Though Randall is more of a film buff and his cousin Brody is more into comics, they're both as snarky as hell and love to show off. They're like big kids. They're also both incredibly blunt with everyone, which always leads to hilarious moments. Next we got Elias, and I won't lie, he's not really a character I ever see getting his own movie. He's definitely enjoyable in moderation, and when he has someone to bounce off of, and he's not unlikable. He cares about people and really wants to improve his life, but his Transformers talks and rants regarding crypto later kinda gets stale real fast. As you can guess, his story was my least favorite. Finally, for the main characters, we got Dante, who pretty much lives in hell of his own making, mostly feeling bad for himself and the life he thinks he should have, and seeing his family emphasize that really doesn't help. We've all been Dante at one point in our lives. Hell, Kevin Smith based Dante, Randall, and the original films in general on his own personal experiences, so you really feel the plight, but he also tries to find some levity knowing he has friends and people who care about him, which leads to sweet moments, but also bittersweet given how his story does go later. But here, Dante's great. As for supporting characters, they're all pretty good, though nothing really to write home about. Still, Myra kind of shocked me a little bit. We had Jeremy Singer, Philip Hester, Tango, and Ahmed Rafat on art. Simpson is known for more storyboarding films and TV like the DC CW shows, Amazon Prime, and just recently Deadpool and Wolverine, which is pretty obvious as it does give more of a storyboard vibe, though he does try to replicate other art styles for the Blunt Man and Chronic parts. Hester's art was probably my favorite, and you might know best for his work on Green Arrow. The rectangular style kinda resembles a more detailed version of the animated series. I dig it. Tango, surprisingly, as at first glance, I thought it was actually the work of a Charter, who you might recall from the DC Holiday special I covered a few years ago. But though similar, there are some differences. Like, Tango has heavier lining and will go for more over-the-top expressions. Rafet's art is very similar to Hester's, though is more simplistic. Rafet will return to the sequel, which is a very different comic, but that's a whole other story diving into the fictional fast food chain movies. On a whole, Quick Stop is a great love letter to fans, and you could tell Kevin Smith had fun returning to these characters and telling more stories with them, even if one was a bit lackluster, but still not the worst. The stories are funny, ridiculous, and even a bit thought-provoking in a few moments, so pretty much Kevin Smith at his best. Thanks for watching. Like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for updates. And a special thanks to Joker, who wanted to do a full-on collab, but...
Hello, this is a prepaid collect call from...
Get me out of here!
It's me, Joe! I need bail!
Yeah. Next time, we might be done with Screened Page Month, but we will be continuing the themes of youth and coming of age as summer begins to wrap up by returning to see a hero realizing who he really is. Later.